We're in a new month, which means it's time for a heat check. In this episode, we discuss interest rates, marketing your home, and a lot more. Be sure to join us during this episode of the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast.
Investing in real estate can be full of pitfalls. Don't end up as another horror story on Mike Riley's Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hi, I'm Mike Ferrante with Century 21 Homestar and the 21 Mike team, serving buyers and sellers all over the state of Ohio. We specialize in helping investors buy and sell real estate, so before you make another move, go to 21mike.com to schedule an appointment. The 21 Mike team, your one-stop shop for buying and selling.
Hi, everybody. It's May, it's spring, and it's time for the May Heat Check. With me is our stat geek, our Steve Kornacki of the numbers in the real estate market in Cleveland, Mike Ferrante. Mike, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'll take that as a compliment.
Steve Kornacki, he's the man. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so what do you got for us, Mike? The floor is yours.
Well, so number of sales dropped, and I was just reading an article. Everybody's got their opinion about the real estate market, and with number of sales dropping, a lot of people think that the main problem in the market is what's making the headlines, these interest rates, right? That's got to be what's doing it, right? Interest rates slowing down the economy, trying to curb inflation, and it's hurting the real estate market. Well, guess what? That is not the number one problem in the real estate market. And that's not just here in Cleveland, that's across the country. So, Mike, the number one problem with the real estate market is...
Let me guess. Oh, call me teacher. Oh. I would say it's a lack of inventory.
Yeah, that's it. Because despite rates, buyers still are trying to buy homes. We're seeing multiple offers over list price again. We just had a listing out in Lake County, 4 days on the market, 4 offers. 3 of the 4 were over list price. And that's kind of what's going on. Last month, market time dropped to 18 days. I mean, that's last 2 years numbers. And
Wow.
For April, that's really, really out of the ordinary to only be 18 days median market time. So even though the number of sales are down, it's really still a seller's market and buyers are still vying for homes, but there's just not enough inventory. They're fighting over these homes, driving prices up. Median sale price is up to 196. We're back up near 200, and by summer it'll be back up well into the 200s again. And the problem is this inventory. We actually only have just over 1,900 homes on the market here in Northeast Ohio, which is completely out of the ordinary. We're used to 4,000 to 6,000 homes in spring and summer, and so we're just like the national average. We're at about half of where we really ought to be, where we have been in past years.
Well, I should amend what you said, not necessarily reject it, but the problem is interest rates. And what's novel about that answer is the fact that people don't want to give up their locked in 2% interest rate to put the house on the market, correct?
That has been more of an objection, yes. So we have the people who are on the fence about moving, and when they weigh all the factors, if one of the factors is, well, we don't really have to move and we're sitting on a 3% rate, are we really going to trade that for a 6 to 7% rate? It definitely plays a part in the decision-making process. Now, that said, there's still people who really need to move. They've outgrown their home. They are being relocated for work. All kinds of reasons why people have to move, and those are the people who are doing it. But yeah, it's definitely a factor, but I would still say that the number one problem is inventory, because I think that there would be a lot more transactions if buyers had more choices.
Right. Well, all I can, from a anecdotal database, I mean, think of Brooke Riley. He's locked into He lives in a house that he could sell for $275,000. He bought it for $160,000. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, Rockefeller Mansion in Forest Hill. Got central air, which he paid a pretty penny to put in when he bought the house. But now it's all set up. He lives in the East Cleveland part of Forest Hill. So, it's not Shaker Fernway, but he's got a nice backyard. He's got everything. And he's got that 2% loan. So his mortgage payment on a house that is worth $275,000 is $1,200 a month. And that includes taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
Now, why would he? And he and his wife or new wife are looking for maybe, moving into Shaker or parts of Cleveland Heights, like the Scarborough, Clarendon area. But why double his mortgage payment, right?
Yeah. And good luck renting something for that.
Yeah. Yeah. How are the rents doing in terms of heat check?
Same kind of thing. I don't have hard numbers for you, but we're watching it anecdotally. We just posted a house for rent in Euclid, which is not a premier market. It's just a kind of a average to below average market, I would say. Nothing special about it. And 4-bedroom house, $1,400 a month. And we had 3 applications. I couldn't even tell you dozens of showings. And 1,400 a month for a house in Euclid was unheard of. But as quickly as home prices rose, rents rose. Now they're leveling off a little bit, but there's still a shortage of rental homes. And so, you post something for a premium rent like $1,400 in a city like Euclid, you don't expect a line of people out the door waiting to see it and putting their applications in.
How is the new building going?
Well, I think we talked about this last time. Historically high percentage of homes on the market are new construction, and I think it's because new construction is still very healthy. Builders realize there is a shortage of something, and in true capitalism form, when there's a need in the market, the entrepreneurs and companies try to fulfill that need. So fully 1/3 of the homes on the market right now are new construction. What's typical is more like 10%. So as fast as they can develop land and find places to squeeze houses in, the builders are building and they're selling them. There was a slight lull when rates first started going up because I think a lot of people panicked and the builders were starting to offer bonuses and incentives again. But now most of those are off the table. They're taking orders for homes and building them as fast as they can.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, we've got one house that's getting teed up as we speak. Maybe this weekend, Mike, and that's our Edge Hill house. What's your thoughts on that? We're not going to name any names, but it's a big rambling house on Edge Hill. What's the price you think you're going to list it for?
Well, we're going to go take a look at it and finalize that. But certainly that neighborhood is unique, and the more unique a home, the harder it is to price, and the harder it is to sell. We sell more Chevys than we do
Teslas?
Mercedes and Teslas. And yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly right. So, and definitely the pricing is a little bit more complex, but and Mike, you're no stranger to Cleveland Heights, obviously, but these little niche neighborhoods certainly fetch a premium, and this is the coolest house. Remember, we walked it. It's got that the current owner was telling us how it was built to have entertain, and they had like an area where the orchestra would sit and the people
Yeah.
could gather around that central hallway, which is set
Right.
up like an auditorium, and they could sit up in their box seats in the master, which has now been converted to a closet, and watch the orchestra. It's got that ballroom.
Right.
So again, modeling homes like that, it's tough because you have this square footage. So the standard price per square foot model doesn't work. I think that house is like 8,500 square feet. So you'd say, oh, it should be 1.5 million, right? But no, someone's going to get a nice deal on that house. Probably in the sixes is my guess is where it's going to sell.
Okay, now here's the question, because this happened to a friend of mine. She and her husband have lived on that street for 25 years. It's on a street called Delamere, and we talked about this. And I'm not going to mention the realtor, but the realtor had told her to put it on for $650 and start a bidding war. And I was just stunned. $650 for that house? I mean, it's unbelievable. I said $750. I'd buy it for $650. I mean, this house, they put everything into this house. Expanded the kitchen, new kitchen, screen porch, sunk probably $20,000 in the garage. It's like a little house there. Cement driveway, the Delamere, that section on Delamere dead ends to Mornington Lane. I mean, people, everybody get your Google Maps out. Delamere in Cleveland Heights, 44106. Just do a street view and just drive down that street till you hit that little Mornington Lane. I mean, one of the great streets in Cleveland Heights. You can walk to Cedar Fairmont, and the realtor suggested $650. Well, guess what? I don't know whether they took my advice. They're long time good friends and longtime customers. $775 sold in like 3 days. Just boom, California buyer just snapped it right up. And so the question is, do you price it if you're in a new market or not, or, if you're selling that Tesla or Mercedes or whatever, and you don't sell, you're usually dealing with Chevys. Do you try it high and let the market tell you right away, or what?
Well, there's a couple schools of thought on that. One school of thought is still price aggressively, and the market still dictates the price. We're seeing no shortage of offers over list price. The old adage of, well, I can always come down on the price.
I know. We've talked, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true to some extent, but the problem is, think of the real estate market and the activity on a new listing like a parade. This is something that my coach used as an analogy, and it stuck with me. So, there's the build up to a parade, and then you have the parade, and there's all this excitement, and then after the parade goes by, you've got the stragglers, the confetti left in the street, and they're bringing up the rear. When is the ideal time to sell a property? It's when the parade is going on. Same concept with an auction. When I used to go to a lot of auctions.
When did this guy coin that phrase? When did that come out?
This was probably a year and a half ago. We talked about this.
Okay.
But it's the same concept with auctions, whether you go to home auctions or building materials auctions, whatever it is. Or art auction, when you go to an auction and there's 3 people in the room, you kind of rub your hands together. If you can picture me doing the evil Mr. Burns from The Simpsons look, I'm going to get a great deal today because there's only a couple competitors. When the room is full, standing room only, I know there's lots of competition and the prices are going to get driven up. It's the same thing with real estate. So I think the best strategy is to price as close to market value as you can, what you think, and face it, we're in a lot of cases we're taking educated guesses. Sometimes we're shocked. We price something at $650 and it sells for $700. But it's hard to predict in some cases. So I think pricing close to market value, maybe a tad over, is still the best policy. It still yields the best results. So that's my advice.
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side. of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out because, you're going over there later this week. The painting work's all done. We can't get the driveway finished because of the weather. Everything's backed up. But I figure, hey, landscape, it's going to look nice inside. It's freshly painted. And the driveway, we'll just tell the potential buyers, hey, driveway's going in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do. In some cases, you just paint the picture and put your best foot forward. Other times we might say, well, let's wait. We don't get a second chance to make a first impression, but it's really a judgment call. And in this case, I think the right move is to get the house on the market here in May or June, which is again when the parade is going by. So not just the first few weeks of a listing, but also time of year.
Right.
So we don't want to miss the parade in more ways than one.
Right. Can you Photoshop the new driveway, the new asphalt driveway in on your pictures?
I don't see why not. There are virtual staging companies who will take your vacant home and put fake furniture in the pictures. I think that has some appeal, and certainly you should be adding to your remarks. Oh, the furniture is not real. That's digital staging. The driveway is shown what it's going to look like when the new driveway is put in. I think there is some use for that in certain cases. I think in this case, we'll just kind of photograph around the driveway and let people know the driveway is coming in.
Okay. Well, it might, again, we have that house on Delamere sold to the California buyer. We've talked on a number of podcasts about you're getting a lot of armchair people buying, right? So maybe we should do some staging on the inside, virtual, get the driveway done. So, they get a real good sense of what it's like.
Yeah,
So,
more and more you're getting the virtual buyer. So back in the day, when you had more time, when average market times were 30 to 60 days, depending on time of year, if you were an out-of-town buyer and say you were relocating here to Cleveland, you could fly in, say, you know what, I'm going to be here for a weekend, for a week, whatever it is. I'm going to look at the 5, 10, 20 homes that are on the market. You'd pick your favorite three, kind of like the HGTV shows, although it never
right.
works like that. But similar to that, you'd pick your finalists, you'd schedule second showings, and then you'd go back and look at those again. And if any of them passed muster, you'd make an offer. That was the process. And of course, with normal buyers, like people who are here relocating locally, it was the same type of process. But when you're relocating, a lot of times that would get crammed into a weekend or a 1 week visit. Now you don't have time. If you wait and fly in, half the houses you wanted to see are already sold. And then if you do that process of going for second showings, again, you've already missed out. So you've got the virtual buyer who is hiring a realtor who's FaceTiming them, WhatsApping them, shooting videos, walking the house. And then people are making offers without even setting foot in the state of Ohio. So I do really like the idea of virtual staging, videos, virtual tours. It's all good stuff because we're catering to those buyers who can't come here and see the homes in person.
You're talking about a very unique house, which is going to have a unique market, and that market is going to skew towards somebody who's sitting in their armchair in California with their laptop.
Yeah,
they're coming
no
in,
doubt.
they're going to be taking a job at the university hospitals or Cleveland Clinic, or maybe even the art museum, and they're looking for a one-of-a-kind, house. So, yeah, I'm going to push that, that we market it, and I think they would be very open to it since he's an IT guy and he works at home anyway. So it's a natural. Well, okay, what else for heat check episode, Mike?
So I think let's see, we hit the stats on the listings. We're under 2,000 listings. Sales actually dropped about 10% from March to April. And that's, again, I insist that that's really driven by inventory. I think we'd see a lot more sales if there were more homes
Right.
on the market. But again, that median sale price, I'm really fascinated by how the sale price median varies so much here in Northeast Ohio. And of course, this is Cuyahoga County residential sales. But literally back in January when that median price hit 160, that's how much now we're up to 196.
Yeah.
People were thinking, oh, there it goes. Real estate market is crashing. But here we are back up to 196. A year ago this time we were at 180. So year over year, we're almost 10% over where we were year over year. And I think you're going to see it go into the 200s again. If I'll go out on a limb here, I'm going to say we're going to get into the 230s for a median sale price by
Okay.
midsummer.
I want you to write that down. And in our August, September heat check episode, I want you to put it in a little time capsule, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, it is
Uh,
interesting to bust that open and see how the prognostications worked out.
I think we're in interesting times for a couple of reasons. I mean, look at interest rates. They've been going up and up and up, trying to cool down the economy. And yet unemployment is 3%. And the biggest issue for people who have businesses is hiring people, right?
Yeah, we're still seeing that.
When have we had that problem? So if they talk about the economy is resilient, and we've got core inflation, which is starting to come down now that the supply chain kinks have been slowly unraveled, but still, wages are going up in different sectors. I think we're starting to see, my theory is this: I think we're starting to see a little bit of a return to the middle class, a little bit with the wage. Maybe a couple of years ago, you'd work at a retail store for like $9 an hour, $10 an hour. I mean, I had people I knew who were doing that. Now you can't get anybody for that. Nobody's going to
No,
work for that. It's 15,
nobody.
16, 17, 20 an hour, in retail. But what do you think it does to a middle class? It enhances the middle class.
I would think so.
Maybe the income wage gap is starting to shrink a little. And maybe you don't pay that CEO $1 million a year, and ask yourself, hey, listen, there are a lot of people who would love to be a CEO who are just as capable. Maybe they didn't play golf with the same country club or go to the same Ivy League school, but you say, all right, listen, I'm not paying you I'm not paying you 10 million. I'll pay you 5 million. But guess what? You get a private jet. How many people would sign up for that job if they're all qualified? And this whole adage where they say, you listen on CNBC, well, you gotta, the boards are all saying we gotta, pay for talent. You know what? No, I don't think so. You give them a performance bonus, you keep their wages. I mean, look at the Costco guy. I mean, he's very well paid, but he's nowhere near some of these Fortune 500 pay. And they do very, very well. Thank you very much. And they keep their wages high for their, for the majority of their workers. They never have a problem hiring people. And their senior executives are not getting paid these, these huge salaries. So,
Yeah, I think these shifts in the market are good for capitalism. So you have the disruptors. You've got Amazon, for example. You've got rising interest rates that hit some of the mortgage houses hard. Places like Quicken, who had thousands of people laid off because there's no more refinance market. And so what happens? These people who get laid off from, say, a mortgage house have to go find a job. And, I think right now where we're really light is, like your company, Mike, you're hiring guys, home handyman, right? You're the home mechanics, but I know people who have like HVAC companies paying good money and they still can't get people. But I think it's time to learn a new trade, learn a new business. And, there are opportunities out there, not just making 15 an hour, But hey, if you're a certified HVAC tech, you're making 30 to 60 an hour.
Exactly.
And that's good money.
Exactly. You know, and that's very good money. Then you compare it to, you know, the stereotype or the cliche of somebody who got a 4-year college degree, graduated, came out with a lot of debt, and now is wearing a suit and tie and going to work and making peanuts. Basically
Yeah.
making peanuts, as opposed to the person that did a 2-year degree at a very reasonable cost to learn how to be an HVAC guy
I just
or a
did some quick
person.
math, Mike. I just did quick math at 60 an hour, 40 hours a week. That's almost 125,000 a year.
Right. Right. And you enjoy what you do. If you, I mean, and you're always in demand. And you know, no, exactly. And they're worth it. They're worth every penny. Same thing with plumbers. Same thing with electricians. But again, think about this cliche out there that says, well, not college is not for everybody. What does that mean? College is not for everybody. You could flip that, and I think I said that on one in a back podcast. You could flip that and say, you know what? Yeah, you know, if you're really smart and you really want to get a job, don't go to college, because college is for dummies who are going to take out a 4-year loan and graduate with 200,000 in debt, and then can't get a job other than, you know, working at Starbucks or working, you know, some other place, or working in a nonprofit where you know you're basically making 15 an hour. So it all depends on connecting the dots. What exactly do you want? Do you want a upper middle class paycheck with no debt, live in your own home, and get up to work and go to work and enjoy what you do, or do you want this other choice? So I
Yeah,
think we're straying into small business
we
confidential
are.
there, Mike. So we're going to have to
Yeah.
let's tighten that up. I want to ask one more question, which is, you know, we talked about marketing the house. You're hiring a realtor out there to sell your house, and the realtor should be proactive, right, about selling your house, coming up with
100%.
a formula. What do you do when you go into a house and it just needs window washing, landscaping, stuff like that, and the customer is confused? I mean, you go in there and basically say, listen, this house is not going to sell unless you do X, Y, and Z. Do you actually tell them that, or do you suggest that to them?
So first, what I do is I find out what the actual goal and what the position is of the buyer. I make it clear when I'm talking to people, look, if you do this, this will be the result. You know, I think too many agents are wishy-washy. Well, maybe do this, and you know, if you go down this, you know, it needs to be. Look, no one knows exact dollar amounts, but I know if you do this, if you do A, that leads to B. If you do C, that leads to D. And then not doing things also has an impact. If you don't do this, here's what happens. And I think you got to lay the cards on the table. But I was, you know, I think I told you the story once, Mike. I was at a listing, really nice house in Solon, but really dated. One agent went in the house and said, well, you got to strip this wallpaper and you got to do this. You got to do that. And they were really put off by that. They said, look, it's Solon. This house will sell. And I went in and said, well, you don't got to do anything. But if you don't, here's what's going to happen. The price is going to be lower. And they said, okay. And
Yeah,
we sold the house.
yeah, for the price or for a lower price.
Yeah, well, for a lower price. But you know
Yeah,
what? That's what they wanted. So, but again, we as agents and brokers need to be more definitive, not so wishy-washy, and say, people, you want choice, you want what's behind door one or door two.
I
You
know.
know,
I think there's a fine line. I get it, and I agree 100%. I think at the end of the day, you've got to come at it with your thinking cap on, where you're dealing with a customer and you're saying to them, you're transparent, you're suggesting these are the options. You're in Solon, it's a hot market. Yeah, just cut the grass, wash the windows, make it look somewhat presentable so they'll get out of the car and they're not going to look at it like it's some flip project,
yeah,
right?
there's certain things that we always recommend. Like anyone can clean, anyone can cut the grass, anyone can wash the windows. So those are things that we go and say, look, this is kind of a no-brainer, right? Well, no, Mike, I'm in a wheelchair, or
Exactly. Yeah.
well, here I know a company, Riley Painting and Contracting. They'll come do it for you. No, 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 I'm not interested in that. Look, I'm not here to twist their arm and make them do stuff, but I got to tell them what happens if they don't.
Right.
I
Right.
try
And
to lead them, Mike. I try to lead them to water, right? The old
okay.
saying.
Well, make sure as you lead them to water, you've got things written out. This is to summarize our conversation. It's my opinion that blah, 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 blah. Put that in your time capsule.
Yeah.
2 months out when it still hasn't sold. So you've
Yeah.
got some protection, right?
Well, that's the thing, Mike, because people have selective memories, right? Oh, well, you didn't tell me this. Well,
You
actually,
mean
I did.
Trump, who,
Yeah.
who was showing a picture of E. Jane Carroll and thought it was his wife, Marla Maples.
Yeah.
Okay, they have selective memories. I get it.
That was a long time ago. I don't remember.
All right. Well, Mike, thanks for Heat Check in May, and we'll get together in about a week or so, and I'll be interested. We're going to follow this Edge Hill listing, and I want to get more in the weeds on one particular sale. So let's do that. Once the house hits the market, the clock is running. See how many showings, interest people have. All right. So write that down. Let's do that next week as soon as that house hits the market. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds like fun. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk later. Okay. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Riley. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.